If you ever taken calls during a family event, if you've ever felt like you should be available 24/7 to your family, or you feel like you're not giving enough time to your business, this video is for you. If what I said in the beginning of this video sounds like you, listen, you are not alone, because I have been there more times than I can count, okay? Ask my kids. Been there, done that. You might have heard me talk about this before, but initially, what got me to really lock in on putting systems in place for my business and for my family was back I believe he was 2 or 3. My oldest son was 2 or 3. If you want to hear how I started my business and how that all came about, I'll share that in another video. But during that time, I had a 2-year-old when I first started the business. And I think when he was 3, maybe, I was working a whole lot. I have 2 children who are 2 years and 3 hours apart. And so I had a small one at that time, and then I had a 2-3-year-old at that time. I really had no boundary or structure or system. I literally was just like, look, I quit my job. I got to make enough money to make the difference of what we're saving in childcare to what I was making at my job. And I need his business to work for me. So I was like staying up all night and staying up till 3, 4, 5 in the morning, doing work while the kids were sleeping, because I was building this business from scratch. Sound like some of you, right? You know, you stand up all night doing work. And I literally was just working around the clock. And it got to the point where I finally found my rhythm with building the business, finding clients and things like that. And at first, the business was like let me just make enough money. And then I started seeing how much I actually could make. And I was like, oh, I'm going to say yes to that client and yes to this client. And anybody who needs something, I'm going to say yes to them. I was working so much that I was not spending as much time with my little ones as I needed to. And so one day, I asked my 2-3-year-old, whatever he was at the time, he used to always say, when I would ask him to do stuff, he would say, I got work to do. And he would say it all the time. And I'm like, why you keep saying that? And he said, because that's what you say, mommy. And he had a little toy laptop. He was like, and because that's what you say. And I had to sit and I was like, do I really say that? And I thought back to when he would say, yeah, let's go outside. Can we go outside in the backyard? We had a swing set in the backyard. Can we go outside on the swings? Can we do this? Can we do that? Mommy, play with me. Let's watch a movie. Different things. And I was like, I can't right now. I got work to do. I can't do that right now. I got work to do. That was something I constantly said, and he started saying it. And it took him answering that question for me to realize something's off. What I don't want my kid to remember is how much work I have to do, how busy I am. That's not what I want them to remember about me. Kids spell love Time. That's how they spell love. It's not about how many things you can buy them. It's not about how much money y'all got. And we put so much pressure on so many other things. That's not what it's about. So I had to sit back and be like, girl, you got to get your priorities together. And so one of the first things I put in place was these 5 boundaries, okay? So I'm going to go over 5 boundaries for you. And the first one is a time boundary. I have set hours when I'm working. If you watched any of my other videos, you've seen that I am very tight with my schedule so that I get the things done when they need to be done. I have a schedule for myself and a schedule for the kids, a schedule for when everything happens. It's not crazy rigid. There's flexibility and white space in the schedule, but it keeps me disciplined. It keeps me on target. And there is a time boundary there. There's a time boundary. So I'm not working all around the clock. I also make sure that the times of my business don't dictate what I do in my life. So I schedule the life stuff first, and then the business just gets fit in around the life stuff. What I am doing is I am spending more time with my family, more time with God, more time enjoying my husband, enjoying my kids, doing the things that I love, and not working my whole entire life all around the clock. Just work, 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 work. Me personally, I do not believe that that is what God called us as mothers to be doing, is working nonstop. Now, I know in the house, cleaning and taking care of the kids and running them around, being their Uber driver and chef and everything else is work. That is the work that God called us to. Not to be so heavily in the marketplace that we are not operating in the ministry of motherhood. Decide what you want your work schedule to be. If your work schedule is Monday through Friday from 9 to 11, then that's your schedule and stick with it until the season changes and you need to adjust it. You're not working on the weekends, make sure that you are not working on the weekends. Make sure that there is a strict boundary around when you are working and when you are not. When there's family time and when no client calls will be answered and you're going to turn your phone on D&D. The second boundary is communication. Your clients should know when to expect a response from you and where to be talking to you at. I would recommend a platform. The clients are not on my line hitting me up asking me to do stuff. We need to have a boundary around where they can communicate with you, and they should not get direct access to you all day long. They should know you can expect a response from me between 4 and 6 business hours or whatever you want your response to be. 1 to 2 business days is sometimes long, depending on what you're doing for the client. But, making sure you have an actual communicated timeline on when they can expect to hear from you. Next, you need to select a platform for this communication boundary. I recommend something like ClickUp, which is a project management system. You can also communicate with your clients in it. Slack is very common. If you have to have a phone line, I recommend the Sideline app. If you don't like Google Voice, I'm not a Google Voice fan. I just don't like the interface. I'm bougie with interfaces. Y'all know I do software and tech, so that's given. But Sideline, I like the Sideline app. It is an app that is on my phone that gives me a separate phone line than the phone line that is my main phone number. I can text people. I can leave voicemail. They can leave voicemails. I can do everything phone call and text message wise that I can do on my iPhone, I can do on the Sideline app. Now, number 3 is a big one. Scope boundaries. I had no idea about this, and I kept finding myself in situations with clients because all of my work back then was one-to-one with my clients, done for you work. I kept finding myself in situations where clients, or I was doing things that I didn't like doing, or clients would ask something of me, and because I actually, I like what I do, but I like learning something new, I would say yes. It might have been something that I typically wouldn't do, or, I would just say yes. And I'm like, it's easy money. I might as well say yes. I would do that all the time. And scope creep is crazy. It gets real. It gets real. Because I would find myself in situations where I'm dreading or avoiding the project or avoiding the task. It's because I'm in a situation where I'm doing something that I don't even need to do. So be very clear in your contract and in your communication with the client on what you do and what you don't do. Let's say you're in graphic design. You guys will give you have 5 revisions. You give a revision amount. Make sure that there's even communication around that. When you submit a revision, tell them where to submit it, how long they can expect a response, and when they can expect for the revision to be made. Number 4 is energy boundaries. And by energy, I mean just how you're feeling, okay? For me, I like to lump tasks together in batches. So while I'm sitting here recording this content, I do my videos, I do my calls all on Monday. So Monday, I call it my Monday meeting marathon. And I'm recording I'm doing all my calls with the exception of a couple that are quick, short calls. I do my bulk of my calls and coaching on Monday. I also record content on Mondays. Mondays are my days. Part of that also is because I don't feel like looking cute every day. I really don't. Maybe I should, but I don't. I don't feel like looking cute every day. I don't feel like doing makeup and hair and being outside of sweatpants and leggings every single day. And so I do that on Mondays, and I can get it all knocked out real easy, just like that. Amen. And so that's just how I flow with my energy. That's how I flow with how I'm feeling and my mood and all the things. I know Monday is the day, and disciplined, I have to be disciplined. Monday is the day when I do the videos and do the coaching and create the content and do all the things on Mondays. So the same goes for my calls. I have calls on specific days. Before I was doing my Monday meeting marathon, I would do calls on specific days of the week. I don't remember what those days were, but I'm going to just throw out 2 days. Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 12 would be my calls. I had calls on specific days that also helped me with having the kids home. For those of you who have kids home, you already know the struggle that it can be to juggle all the things, to keep them occupied, to make sure that they're not interrupting your calls, to make sure if you are a homeschool mom that they are still getting a lesson. But because of those things, it was important to me that I limited client calls to a specific day of the week. And I didn't just allow people to book willy-nilly. Even with my online calendar booking, whether you use Acuity, Calendly, or whatever you use, it was important for me that my availability on there matched when I knew I wanted my slots to be available to do calls. Also within that energy boundary is, like I was mentioning before, batching tasks together that are alike. My mind works off of adrenaline. And so that's how my energy kind of works. I work off of adrenaline. So once I do something, it builds up to the next, and I'm on a roll where I'm just knocking out a bunch of tasks. And so if I keep myself doing similar tasks all at one time, it just keeps my energy rolling, and I can knock out work a whole lot faster. Another piece of this energy thing was I kind of had to do a gauge of how I was feeling when I interacted with certain clients, how I felt when I saw an email pop up on my phone from that client, how I felt when I got a Slack message, how I felt when I was working on their project. I had to do a gauge of that, because sometimes what I used to allow was, again, remember I used to say yes to everything. I was saying yes, 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 yes. And no, we could do a whole video on no being a complete sentence and a big boundary. I was saying yes to everything. I had to really do an energy check on, like, why? Let's get to the root of the problem. Why do I feel like I don't want to, every time I see this person's name pop up on my phone, I'm like, why do I feel like that? What is it about that? And a lot of the time we operate out of desperation, which is, we ain't gonna go down that rabbit hole. That's poverty mindset. That's lack right there. That's lack telling you that you will not get another opportunity. So you might as well take advantage of this one you have right now, because you likely won't get another one. So I need to accept anything that comes at me, because I might not get another opportunity. And that is lack. And I had to tell myself that. And so I had to do a check, because I had to end up parting ways and breaking up with people that I never should have taken on as clients anyway. It is a privilege for them to work with me just as much as it is a privilege for me to work with them. And I had to know my value. When I first started my business, I didn't know. I needed to learn what my value was and how great and how powerful and brilliant I was, and all the amazing things that I brought to the table. And lastly, number 5 is family boundaries. So I had to set times when my kids know when I'm working and when I'm full-blown momming, okay? So I have a schedule. You can look at another video. I may link it somewhere on the screen. But I have a schedule. And they already know, based on my schedule, when I'm working and when I'm momming. And based on my schedule, typically I work before and after the little ones get up. And I also work when that little, he's 2 now, 2-year-old is taking a nap, because he still naps. Praise God. God is faithful. My God. He still naps for 3 whole hours. Okay? 3 whole hours. While he's napping for 3 hours, I can sit and knock out a bunch of stuff. Knock out house, work, all those things. I can knock out all those things because he is knocked out. And the kids know, the other ones know, that when he is asleep, leave mommy alone. It's work time. They have the system down. They know it is work time. Let her lock in. Let her focus on what she's doing. So I have that boundary with them where they can understand what those times are, when they can expect that I'm not going to be momming. Okay? Now, I also have set boundaries. Like I mentioned before, I schedule family and life stuff, and then work just goes around that in pockets. I have a life first business. My business is here and it does very, very well. However, my business is not going to run my life, and I work about 3 hours at this time. I work about 3 hours a day in my business. No, I'm not finna do a whole lot more than that. There are seasons when I have to work a little bit more. And again, with that family boundary, I communicate that with my family, with the kids. They fully understand. I have a client launch I'm working on. This is a big deal. We have those conversations, and they know when I'm working on specific things or when I'm really locked in. I'm not going to be able to be going to the trampoline park for a couple weeks now, because I have to really lock in on this client project that I'm working on. And they know that. Now, when it comes to the family boundary, there's the family calendar and what we got going on with the family, and it does not get interrupted by client work unless there is some type of crazy emergency. With me, because I do people's tech and automations, when they're doing things, every once in a while there may be a real fire, like an actual emergency that's happening, that I really do have to step away. But again, that is communicated so that all the people in the Claiborne household know where we at. They know what time it is. I want you to comment below and tell me which boundary you are implementing first. And then you can come back and update me. Let me know, how is it going for you? In the meantime, in the link in the description, I do have a community of mompreneurs who are building kingdom businesses and raising kingdom kids. In building a kingdom business, we have to implement boundaries. What I don't want us ever to do is to allow this business to take us completely off in left field, and that has our whole focus, and then we just give our family the leftovers. That's not what we ever want to happen. Motherhood is a full ministry, and we need to really prioritize that and put that in place of your business. Make sure that that is a higher priority than your business. I want you to view this as stewardship. Yes, it might be a little bit uncomfortable for you, right out the gate, like, it's a little uncomfortable telling people no, telling them I'm not going to get back to them in this amount of time. But this is stewardship. You have this opportunity, these gifts, this family, all of this vision that God has given you, and it is your job to steward it well with the amount of time that He has given you. I'm going to give you some homework, and then I'm out of your way. I'm going to give you homework. Number one, of course, first and foremost, like the video, subscribe to the channel. That's number one, okay? And then number two, I'm going to link a book in the description. It's the Boundaries book, and a business coach of mine had me read this 8 years ago, I want to say, when I had one of my very first business coaches, and she had me read this book, and it changed everything for me. It is called Boundaries, and I'm going to link it in the comments. Be well. I will see you in the next video. Bye.